Welcome to Behind the Bet. I'm your host, Kevin Noon. It's brought to you by WagerWire, and I'm joined by Noah. As you know, here on the Behind the Bet series, we enjoy going out, finding big bets out there that are a leg away from hitting and kind of going through some of the process of what led to the bet and everything else. But, first and foremost, Noah, I'm a Dodger fan. You're representing the Padres, so we're already at odds. But how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Let me bring up the bet because we always want to kind of lead with what's going on here. So here we go, a three-leg parlay. You have Jake Knapp already in the house at 4,000, and then you've got two legs that are still active right now. You've got the Yankees winning the AL pennant and the Padres winning the NL pennant, and a nice $40 bet could sit there and bring you 233 large, give or take a little bit of change there. So, when did you place this bet, and kind of what went into your thought process?
Yeah. So the bet was placed in February. I think it was the day before that golf tournament started, the Mexico Open. So it was mid-February. I'm not sure the exact date. But yeah, I mean, I'd been following Jake Knapp throughout the early golf season. I'm a big golf fan. He came up through the Corn Ferry Tour. He was a rookie this year, and I saw him playing well early on. Um, and I've always liked his swing. I think he's a cool guy, and I was like, Jake Knapp. I mean, I'd been betting on him early in the season, and he hadn't won yet, but he'd been playing really well. And then yeah, that's kind of what led me to put him in the parlay.
Yeah, so you sit there and you got them at plus 4,000. So obviously, I like to bet NASCAR, so I'm kind of picking a number off of the chart sometimes. But
Yeah.
was it a case of I feel really good about these baseball bets, and I just want to and since I have this knowledge of Jake Knapp, and he's due. Is that how this all kind of came together? Because you have the PGA aspect, but then it's really kind of weighted towards Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Honestly, not really. The thought process for putting the Yankees and Padres in there was I was trying to juice the odds of the bet. Um, I wanted a bigger payout. Obviously, 40 to 1 on Jake Knapp is great odds. 40 times 40 would have been a great payout. But I was kind of thinking to myself, like, I don't know, I can make this a lot juicier by adding two futures. And the baseball season hadn't started yet. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I decided to put him in there to juice the odds mainly. That was the reason.
So you're juicing the odds now. Let's look at each
Yeah.
leg of these individually, and we'll start with the NL since you're sporting the Padres hat. I mean, obviously the Dodgers Padres have really kind of developed into quite the rivalry right now. It's kind of one of those big brother little brother things. The Dodgers, okay, you can win the West so many times, whatever it is, 12 of the last 13 seasons or whatnot, but Dodgers have fallen up short outside of 2020. They've not been able to really get it done. So, what went into the Padres? Was it I'm identifying that I think that the Padres are a more complete team, or is I'm going to get better return on the Padres, and because of that, that's just where I want to go.
Yeah. So I'm a big underdog guy. I love betting the underdog. And I'll always root for the underdog over the favorite. I'm always looking for the plus money value. And when it came to the Padres, I remember I was laying in bed. I placed the bet at 1 a.m. or something ridiculous. I was laying in bed. Um, and I remember I was scrolling through the baseball odds and I was thinking like, hey, who of these teams at long odds really has a shot? And I came across the Padres. Well, so I initially I knew that the Yankees would be good. The Yankees have been good for a long time. They've had a lot of disappointment in the last, I don't know, 8, 10 years. Last year, I think they missed the playoffs, but that was an anomaly. Recently, they've been pretty good. And it kind of reminded me when I was thinking that the Yankees were good, it reminded me of the Juan Soto trade. And Juan Soto was obviously with the Padres, and they underachieved. And when people like to go one way, I generally like to go the other way. At least I like to think, okay, hey, if everybody's thinking this, let me play devil's advocate and think about the other side. And so when Juan Soto was traded to the Yankees, everybody kind of thought to themselves, okay, the Padres are toast. Like, they're not going to be good anymore. But I kind of thought about that, and I was like, hey, maybe there were locker room issues. Maybe he just wasn't a good fit for their system or their team, or there was chemistry issues, or whatever the reason may be. But I kind of thought to myself, like, hey, maybe Juan Soto leaving would be a blessing in disguise. And they got Michael King in that trade, who I like as a player a lot. He's been fantastic as of late. I think they got Higashioka as well, who's been great. But yeah. And so that leads me back to the Padres. When I was looking through the odds, I saw they were 40-1, and I was like, hey, they got a shot. They have star players like Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, I view highly of. And Jackson Merrill came out of nowhere. No one could have expected that. But yeah, Darvish. I don't know. I thought they had star players. I thought they were undervalued, and I thought they had a shot. And then I put the Yankees and Padres together kind of for storyline purposes, because I thought it would be super cool if after making the Juan Soto trade, the two teams faced off in the World Series. So yeah, that's a long story, but that's kind of how it came to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you like underdogs, I mean, it's not many years that we're going to be able to say underdogs and Yankees. I mean, I mean, just based on, historical and everything else, but we've seen we have seen a shift of where championships have gone recently and everything else. So, you can't necessarily look at the name on the front of the jersey and make your decision solely there.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say the Yankees were underdogs per se. It was mainly the Padres. I mean, I think the Yankees were the favorite in the American League going into the year, but the Padres were definitely not. So, yeah.
How have you watched? We'll start kind of on the NL side again. That series is already 2 games in. It's 1-1. The Dodgers come out. Shohei Ohtani hits a 3-run home run.
Yeah.
The Dodgers kind of pour it on, and they score 7 runs to win the game, which is kind of, I think, what everybody thinks the Dodgers are going to need to do, because the pitching is so flawed. Game 2 comes out, that flawed pitching shows up. They just really can't do anything. The dam breaks at the end of the game. Ends up being 10-2 after Max Muncy hits a meaningless home run there. I mean, it didn't help anybody at that point. I mean, how have you been watching it? I mean, it's been going kind of according to plan. I mean, were you nervous after one? It's like, oh boy, if Ohtani puts his team on his back, we're not sitting good.
Yeah. I was definitely disappointed with the result of game 1. I think the Padres played very poorly. Machado made an uncharacteristic error at third, which cost him a big run. They left bases loaded in the 8th. They left runners on in the 9th. And Dylan Cease left a meatball to Shohei Ohtani when you can't really do that. And so, I was disappointed with the result, but I had positive takeaways from the game. I thought to myself, the team played very poorly, as I said, and a lot of things went wrong, and they had opportunities and they weren't able to capitalize. And I was confident going into last night that they would, right the ship and play a lot better, which we obviously saw.
And then on the AL side, I mean, of course, there's a game tonight. So if you're listening to us on a recording, we recorded this before game 2 of the Yankee series, but they're up 1-0 on KC. I mean, how has that one gone in terms of to your expectations?
I was very happy that the Yankees won that game, because I thought the Royals easily could have taken it. Aaron Judge can't be going hitless in the playoffs. I know he has a history of struggling this time of year. If they want to win the World Series or even get there, that can't continue. They're going to need him. I hope to see him play well tonight. If he doesn't, I'd be a little worried, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, the team played pretty well. Verdugo came up big. Garrett Cole did not pitch well, which was upsetting. Garrett Cole pitched pretty terribly, to be honest. You could tell in the first inning the Royals had 3 hard hit balls, even though they were all outs. They could kind of see them. You could tell that they were seeing them. So yeah, I don't know. The Yankees are obviously big favorites. I think they have a lot more talent. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. It's just going to come down to execution.
Bobby Ballistic joins us from Twitter saying San Diego should have walked Ohtani in game 1 in that first at bat. It wasn't his first at bat. It was his second at bat. There were 2 on at that point. I mean, normally you don't do that type of situation there. I mean, when you have Mookie Betts, batting behind them, they've done some changes with their lineups there where they have put Teoscar Hernandez up there a couple of times, but really their druthers is to go Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. So
yeah,
what are your thoughts on there? I mean, it's all hindsight is 2020 at this point.
Right.
I mean, it would have been a lot easier than giving up a 3-run jack that just put a charge in Chavez Ravine.
Right. I honestly like that the Padres were going at him. I like how Mike Schilt made the decision that they were going to go after him. They weren't going to walk him. Like you said, hindsight's 2020. Cease left a fastball right over the heart of the plate. It was a little up there, but I mean, Shohei can hit anything. It was a missed pitch, and he took him deep. Yeah, you could have walked him. They walked Mookie Betts with 2 strikes. I didn't like that decision. But yeah, I don't know. You could say they could have walked him. I don't think anyone would argue with you there, but I like how they were going to attack him.
One more question, and we'll get back into some of the questions I have for you. Ed Rogers saying Kansas City can pitch, and that's certainly something with the Royals. I'm still not sure I'm used to being in a world where we're talking positively about the Royals, but it is what it is. It's a brave new world.
They can pitch. They have a good team. I respect their team a lot. I'm worried, to be honest. I mean, I'm more worried about the Yankees than I am about the Padres. That might sound crazy, but that's kind of my reality. I have a lot of faith in the Padres. I think they're going to win the World Series, and I've thought that from the beginning of the year. But yeah, no, I respect the hell out of the Royals. They're a great team, and they can pitch for sure.
We'll drop that off, and you mentioned wager wire, and that the bet is I guess for sale, and you certainly have a number. How did you arrive at the number that you have there, and what is it of what you would be willing? Let's bring the bet up again for those that maybe joined us late or coming through on there. You have a cash out offer of $16,650. A little bit of rounding on there. I mean, and that was when I got the ticket. So you don't know if things, I mean, I'm sure the number has changed a little bit with, the outcomes of games and everything else, but what is your for sale number, and how did you kind of arrive at it? Because, it's, we're talking real money here.
Oh yeah. I don't really have an exact number. My plan was to make my decisions before and after the series. So, before the wild card round, I made the decision that I was going to not cash out, and then I was going to reevaluate once the Padres hopefully advance, which they did. And I kind of made the same decision here prior to the divisional round series. I kind of made the decision that I'm not cashing out now, and I'm going to reevaluate when they both hopefully advance. And my plan is to sell the bet, assuming they both advance. My plan is to, assuming I get the right offer, I want to sell it because I'm obviously a young kid. It's a lot of money, as you said, and it's real money. And yeah, I can't let it go to zero. And so yeah.
So we'll bring this up again here, and obviously we're dealing with a case of cash outs aren't always going to be the greatest number. That's one of the great things with Wager Wire. We have our bet value calculator that can let you know what the bet is really worth. I mean, obviously, casinos aren't necessarily going to come in and be like, oh, we agree with that number and let you dicker with it or anything like that. But So if somebody came in with a real number, and I'm not saying, like, again, the bet's worth 233. I mean, if you get all the way across the finish line, nobody would be able to move you off at this round here in the divisional series.
Unlikely. I kind of want to see it through. I don't know. Like I said, I've been riding this thing since February. I don't know. It would take a big number. I want to get 100,000 for it. That would be optimal. That's what I really want. I'd be very fortunate for that to happen. If somebody were to offer me that right now, I would probably take it. But yeah, that's kind of the scenario.
So you say 100K is the number right now. Things change, and we're nothing's binding at this point or anything else. I sure as heck don't have 100K to offer you up for this, but I've kind of closed your eyes and been like, oh my God, if I sat there and okay, Uncle Sam's got to get his bid or whatever. What's that first purchase you make?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I've spoken to my parents about this for a while. What I really want to do with money in life is help people and do things for other people, because I've been raised in a very nice, and I was raised in a great family. I've had a very awesome upbringing, and I'm extremely lucky. I've done nothing in my life to deserve that. I was just born into the situation I was born in. And I've always, wanted to give back and do things for other people. And so one thing I would like to do is I'd like to contribute some money to hurricane relief in North Carolina, because I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and the devastation that went on is very close to home. And I know people who were impacted in horrible ways. And so, yeah, I think if I win this bet, or however much money I make, I'll definitely be giving back. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, we have another system that's a Cat 5 at this point that's, barreling down on Florida, and then it'll make the hook. So I know there are a lot of people out there that are certainly in a major time of need. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Ed Rogers jumped in too and said that's nice. And he also thinks you should let it ride. So it's easy to sit there and try and cash bets that aren't your money or whatever. Oh, just go for it. Just go for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could say, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to. I have the same bet twice. So I have the exact same ticket on another book. So my plan is to sell this one and let the other one ride. So I'm not fully cashing out. I want to see this through, and I want to win. Trust me, I do want to win. So yeah, I mean, this bet right here is 40 to win 230. The one I have on the other book is 35 to win 230. So in total, I have $75 to win 460 grand, which is pretty crazy. So, yeah.
That's better than the crummy 8-leggers I threw out during college football season, and I missed the first one and win the next 7, and I'm pissed for the next week.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do want to I am going to let one of them ride for sure. I've been seeing it through this long. I gotta see it to the end.
And that's a nice lead into my next question. So, you there you go. There's the light. You've gone through and had this tickets for quite some time. I mean, so you've been through the highs and the lows. I mean, were there any points of the season of where, you certainly don't want to get into like August and be like, well, I'm in too deep. I got to get out of this or whatever. But were there any points that you got like really nervous, or were there any points where you're like, I got this. I got this thing dialed. I've got this thing dialed in.
Yeah. So when I placed the bet, it was in spring training before the season even started. And right, I would say a few weeks after Jake Knapp won, and I knew it was down to the Yankees and Padres, the Padres traded for Luis Ariz. And that was awesome, because I was a huge fan of his. I love contact hitters. I love guys who just get on base. And I remember when there were rumors going around that the Marlins were going to trade him. I was like, yo, the Padres should totally go after him. That'd be an awesome player to get. And then a few days later, they trade for him. And I was like, oh my God, let's go.
Sign.
Yeah, I was like, that's awesome. And then I think a little after that, I actually don't know which one came first. I don't remember exactly, but they traded for Dylan Cease also. And that was another sign where I was like, okay, they're going for it. They have a shot. And the fact that I placed the bet before those two moves happened, and those are two huge players on this team, is lucky for sure. I mean, I couldn't have seen that coming. But yeah, when those two trades happened, I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome. They're gonna be a legit team.
And as you mentioned earlier, too, Jackson Merrill kind of coming out of nowhere as well, adding to the depth there. And then the Yankees are the Yankees, and if they need it, they'll find it. So
yeah.
Have you ever had any other monster tickets before? I mean, and if it's yes, what can you remember about those? And if this is kind of a first foray into it, what's it like having the ticket and kind of getting notoriety?
I have. So last year I had a Miami Heat Florida Panthers futures ticket to for them to both win, for the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. Or no, not last year. Yeah, last year. Panthers to win the Stanley Cup and the Heat to win the NBA Finals. And both made it as 8 seeds, and they ultimately fell short in the finals, which was upsetting. And that bet was $25 to win 108,000, if I'm remembering correctly. Something. It was over 100,000. So that was the first time where I was really in a big situation like this. And I learned that, well, one of my big takeaways from that experience was to place my future bets twice, because I wish that I had one of them to cash out and one of them to let ride, which I didn't. I only had one, and I let it ride, and I ended up losing, which was unfortunate. But that encouraged me this time around to place the bet twice so that I could sell one or cash one out and then ride one to the end. So that's the situation I'm in now. And I probably wouldn't be fortunate to have both if not for the Panthers Heat bet from last year, which was insane as well. I can't believe I had that one too. But yeah.
Everybody has their favorite teams, and it's kind of like I live and die with my favorite team and everything else. But when you have this investment, and it's more than the 25, 35, 40, whatever, you've carried this bet for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. It's become so much of your process, your process. Oh, games have happened. Let's kind of check out what's happening, however I want to handle that. I mean, just how difficult is it watching those games when you're really at knuckle busting time?
It's what I live for. I love this. I mean, it is nerve-wracking for sure. I mean, yeah, you should see me watching the games. I'm super into it. I don't know. I'm nervous is not the right word. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this all year. I've been tracking this thing since Jake Knapp won in February. And none of this matters without Jake Knapp. Let me give a shout out to Jake Knapp, because none of this matters without Jake Knapp. And that guy's the man. That's a golfer on the rise. He's not a household name right now, but he will be soon. Anyway, I got off track. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome to be in this spot and to be watching these games. I mean, my passion in life is sports, and you could say I'm lucky to be in this spot, which I for sure am. There's obviously a lot of luck involved, but there's a lifetime's worth of knowledge and data that I've gained from, following sports my whole life. And I feel like it's kind of led me to this moment, and it's awesome. It's awesome. It's what I live for.
We can, I've got somebody in the chat who wants to see the bet again, so we'll show it here, and then that'll lead into the next thing. Again, this is a ticket that as I got it a while back, so things could be a little bit different now that we're both into the AL and NLDS. But Jake Knapp winning a golf tournament, which he already does, that leg is home. Yankees winning the AL pennant at plus 390, and then getting the Padres to win the NL pennant at plus 2,800. Turns a $40 bet into 233. And as Noah said, he has a duplicate bet in a little bit of a little smaller denomination, but not much. So that's what we got there. But you talk about having all this knowledge of sports in your head. It sounds like you're the head of the Jig Knapp Appreciation Society. Your baseball too, but with NFL and NC2A football going on right now, is that something you dabble in? What kind of advice would you give people who are looking there now that we're closing in maybe on the halfway point here soon of the regular season?
Yeah. I dabble into all sports. I'm a huge football fan, both college and NFL. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, unfortunately, so you can't have everything in life.
No.
But yeah, no, the viewers may not believe me, but I actually had Vandy money line this past weekend when they beat Alabama. And that was pretty awesome. You can check out my Instagram if you don't believe me there. But anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, I do dabble into all sports. My Instagram, by the way, am I allowed? Can I shout out my
Yeah,
Instagram?
absolutely.
Oh, awesome. All right. Samurai Nince, SAMURININCE. That's my Instagram. I'll be tracking this bet and all of my future bets. The Vandy thing was in there. I actually parlayed Vandy, Arkansas, who beat Tennessee, which was crazy. And then Eric Cole, who's a golfer, to win the tournament that was going on this weekend, and he lost. So I didn't get paid out for that, but I did hit Vandy in Arkansas, which was pretty awesome, and that felt pretty good. But yeah, no, I dabble into all sports. I love everything.
A lesser person such as myself would have just said, after Vandy and Arkansas both hitting, I may have been like, I don't care. We've taken this as far as it can go, but I haven't watched a lot of PGA on the regular in a couple of years, so they're just names to me.
Yeah, no, Eric Cole, that's another one of my favorite golfers. He has never won, and I'm waiting for him to win, and it may never happen, but I'm gonna bet on him until he wins. So yeah, there it is.
I mean, what kind of return? And I'm not looking for an exact, but did you get just on a Vandy money line over Alabama?
Vandy was 10-1. They were plus 1060.
Wow.
And then Arkansas was plus 425. And then Eric Cole was like 25-1. I should not have put him in there. It was a mistake, but you live and learn.
You're adding it to the big memory bank of
I guess so.
There, and then once this all becomes too easy and you retire somewhere, then it's not a big deal. But how do you get to the LCS?
Yeah.
Hopefully you move one ticket. We'll talk about Wager Wire a little bit more there. You move one ticket, you hold on to one ticket. You say you don't get nervous.
Yeah.
But does it get more difficult to watch these games if you're one hurdle away? I mean, obviously you're going to a 7-game series in the LCSs, so a little bit more variance that can happen there. But does the process change anything with the ticket that you hold?
I mean, yeah, if the Yankees or Padres go down in the series, that would obviously make me nervous. But I won't lose faith, that's for sure. Every champion of all time overcame adversity. And if I want to be added to that list of champion per se, you got to overcome adversity. It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be a clear path. And you got to trust your intuition. You got to trust your gut, and you can't give up. You gotta keep the faith. And so, yeah, if it gets dicey, it'll obviously increase my nerves, but I will not lose faith. That's for sure.
So you get to the LCS. We're just speaking hypothetically. Yankees get to the LCS. Padres get there.
Yeah.
You hedge, or are you just like, we're going 100% in, no hedge?
No, we're going. We're in that scenario. We're 8 games away, 8 wins away. We're going.
No, no quarter. We're going for it. No
No,
hedge, no nothing.
no, no. The reason why I let the Panthers heat bet from last year go to zero is because I wanted to win, and I was so focused on winning, which ended up hurting me. But I don't know. I don't know. I still have that same desire to see that ticket cash and win the bet. So yeah, no, I don't want to hedge. I want to win, and yeah, I want to see it through.
So you talk about selling the bet, and obviously that is something through WagerWire. When did you first learn about WagerWire, and how did the whole process of moving a bet? Because I've been involved with WagerWire now a little more than half a year. I mean, I've known about them for a couple years, but I would have never thought about selling bets. I mean, like a commodity, like that it is.
Yeah, I found out about WagerWire when the Panthers Heat bet was going on. My cash out, the highest I saw I get was around, I think it was like 9 or 10K. And when it was at that point, it was a lot less than the actual value of the bet, which, you calculate by putting in the total payout and figuring out how much you'd have to place, how much you'd have to put down right now in order to get paid out that much. And say the actual value was 20K, the FanDuel cash out was roughly half of that, so 10K. And I was like, well, that's not fair. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a secondary market of sorts, or a buyer who would be willing to pay me somewhere in that 20K so that we both win. I get a better payout and they get a bet at better value. And so I did a bunch of research, and that's how I found out about WagerWire. And I reached out to you guys back then, and unfortunately, it didn't amount to anything. But then when I had this going on this year, I was like, hey, I mean, if this gets serious, I know that the cash outs are going to be disrespectful. I'm going to want to be able to hopefully find a buyer to give me a better payout. And so I reached back out, and now we're here.
Now we're here, and couple few games left in the LDS, and then to see if we can get them to the LCS. But as we're wrapping up here, we're a little more than a half hour in. I appreciate it, Noah. I mean, let me bring the bet up one more time, just for those of us that are watching through our Twitter X channel, 3-Leg Parlay, Jake Knapp. That is already in the clubhouse, so to speak, at plus 4,000, and then LCS winners, the Yankees on the American side and the Padres on the National from the senior circuit. $40 bet to 233 large. I mean, how much? I mean, how often are you speculating on these? I mean, I'm not getting into what your betting history or habits are or whatever, but
yeah,
do you find yourself, like, okay, I feel that I have enough information here that I'm going to sit there and maybe a couple different permutations of the same bet with, maybe, one different pen, or is it, laser focused just on one thing?
That's a good question. I will say I did parlay Jake Knapp back in February with other things that ended up losing. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I parlayed Jake Knapp and the Houston Cougars men's basketball to win March Madness, and they lost. I think that's it. I think I also parlayed Jake Knapp with the Clippers to win the NBA Finals because I love Kawhi, and I think Kawhi could get another ring, but that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, no, I did parlay Jake Knapp with other things that ended up losing, and this was kind of the lone survivor per se. But yeah, I'm a big futures person. I don't really bet. I'm trying to put this into words. I do bet on football games and that sort of thing, but come NBA season, come MLB or NHL season, and like during the baseball regular season, I'm not betting on games on a daily basis. I kind of pick a team early in the season that I want to follow, and I kind of run with it. Like in the NFL, for example, I was really high on the Jaguars going into this year, and they've been very disappointing. They were 0-4. And so I actually, for the viewers out there, I doubled down on them this week, and I took them to win the AFC at 100-1 odds. So I don't know. That's kind of my betting strategy. I like to pick a team, investing in the team, riding it for the year. You won't catch me throwing like LeBron James over 30.5 points parlayed with Kevin Durant over 9.5 rebounds. Like, I don't do stuff like that. I like to pick teams and invest in them and ride. And I bet on golfers too. I love betting on golf. That's probably my favorite thing to bet on.
So you're not out there doing no runs first. You're not doing Nerfy all the time.
Nerfies, no, that's not me. That's not what I do.
Last question I have for you. Somebody's watching this, and I think I do have one more question from somebody else. But if somebody's watching, and they're interested in sports wagering, and they want to just. It's kind of like you get to a craps table, and it's very intimidating when you first look at it. You don't know what's going on there. There's so many things, and heart 8 and everything else. I just want to bet the damn pass line. That's all I want to do there. I mean, what is your advice to somebody who is looking to up their game a little bit? I mean, everything is different for different people. You like certain bets different than other people, but I think there could maybe be some sage advice from somebody as young as yourself.
Yeah, I would say just like anything in life, you learn from your mistakes. You learn with experience. This is a hard game. It's very hard. But it's doable. It's feasible. I'm in this spot because I put a lot of shots up. As Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I put up a lot of shots. I'm always trying to hit a big parlay like this, and I stay true, and I don't give up, and I don't lose faith. And so one thing I will say is that a lot of people, there are a lot of people out there who say they know everything, who say follow their picks, you should do what I do. Yes, some people are good at this to an extent, but at the end of the day, you got to trust yourself, and you got to follow your gut and your intuition and do what you believe is right. And long term, you'll find success like anything in life.
Go through a couple of comments that we have here. The question is, did you cash the second ticket? Or are you waiting a little longer? Noah said that he would do it after the divisional series. That's when you would move one ticket and keep one ticket, right?
Yeah, so assuming they both advance, I'm planning on selling one of them and riding the other to the end because I want to win.
Fun podcast. I'm getting my feet wet at betting. I always like the long shots. This gives me some ideas. And then we had one more here that was kind of directed at me from Jordan B. I always wondered to what extent you're allowed to gamble when you're an insider and maybe privy to information like you, Kevin. I don't know anything. And I think there's something to be said about sometimes when you think you know too much is when you're most vulnerable because you think you know too much. I mean, I know we don't have player props in Ohio. I don't know if you have them in North Carolina, but they've taken away collegiate player props, so can't really do a whole lot there. But I have one rule. I don't bet on the teams I cover. So I don't bet on Ohio State. I just don't feel right about it.
There you go. Yeah, I do want to respond to the guy who said fun podcast. I'm just getting my feet wet. Yeah. I'm glad I gave you some ideas. Like I said, I don't know everything. I'm just a 23-year-old kid who I have a lot of experience for my age. I've been doing this for a long time, from before I was 21. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that, but whatever. But yeah, you're going to lose a lot, but you're going to learn, and, never give up, stay true, keep going, and you'll figure it out. You'll be good.
Well, there you go. And, this is one I can't say we'll kick the can down the road and I'll talk to you in a month because we're going to know sooner rather than later. But, we will stay in touch. And Noah, one more time, your Instagram where you chart all this so people can follow along with you, since it sounds like you've got a lot of things constantly in the bin.
Yeah. So my Instagram again is Samurai Nince, SAMURININCE. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
If I'm putting it here in the chat, so anybody who goes through afterwards can check it out there.
Awesome.
We have drinks on Noah if it hits.
I got you.
We'll all head down to OMB and have a couple beers over at OMB.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Well, there you go. So that is this episode of Behind the Bet with Noah and his three-legger that we will know a lot about here soon. You see what I did there? We will know with Noah, but we will check in after. We will check in if things are going positively. How about that? We're not going to sit there and belabor the point of how my Dodgers are going to get their heads out of there. You know what? I'm not counting on it.
Yeah.
So, but until then, thanks for watching us here at Behind the Bet. Kevin Noon with Noah. Talk to you very soon.
Thank you, guys.